Fitness coming at you guys. Why I don't 1 rep max. Gotta excuse my dog, he's having fun over there. So yeah, my rep ranges when I'm lifting weights are generally in the higher end. Now, to me, high is anywhere from like 10 all the way up to 20. You know, I'll rarely go above 20. And in general, the smaller the muscle, like the delts, even things like biceps, pretty small compared to the other muscles in the body, I'll go higher reps, less weight. And the reason for that is they're not large muscles. They don't need a ton of weight to stimulate them, to get them to grow. I see a lot of people, especially with delts, doing way too heavy a weight. And someone who's had shoulder issues, labrum issues specifically, which is the tendon and kind of the film that holds your shoulder in place. I know firsthand that it can be easy to injure, and you don't need to go heavy to get big shoulders. You can, I mean, when I'm doing lateral raises, I'm doing 15 to 20 reps. And then for my larger muscle groups, like legs, chest, back, I'll stick to like, 10 to 15, closer to the 10 range. And what that means is I'm doing a weight where, when I'm getting to rep 10, I'm getting close to failure, right? So where I can't do it anymore. Not like I hit 10 and then stop, but I could do 20 more. I'm choosing a weight where, I can rep out 10 of them, right? And then progressive overload from there. But yeah, like this video is about, why I don't 1 rep max is I think the risk to reward is too vast there. You're not getting hardly any time under tension, right? So you're not going to really get much hypertrophy from a 1 rep max. And it's mainly just for strength gains and for power lifters especially, and that's great. There's a place for that. I'm not a power lifter. I do more on the side of hypertrophy training. I still like doing strength training too. 5 reps, would be as low as I go. Very, very rarely am I doing anything under 5 reps. I think, when you're doing stuff that's under 5 reps, you're lifting heavy. You're lifting heavy weight. And that's awesome for some people. There can be tons of therapeutic values for that too, just getting under the bench press and lifting heavy weight. But if you're trying to actually grow your chest, try to get your heart rate up, trying to, build muscle, like actual volume size of muscle, you're going to need to drop that weight down and do higher reps. I have some friends, some UFC fighters that, I shouldn't say UFC fighters, I have some fighter friends that, they're really scrawny guys, but they're super strong. They can lift crazy amounts of weight, and people that don't know that will just kind of be confused, because they're like, shouldn't you look really big if you can lift a lot of weight? But they have nothing to do with each other. You can be a super scrawny guy and be incredibly strong, and that's from that lifting for strength. You're lifting in a lower rep range, you're lifting heavy weight, progressive overloading the same way, but you're not getting that time under tension. You're not getting the blood flow into the muscles. And some people want this. Some people want to be really strong, like fighters, who have to, keep their mobility, keep their actual body weight under a certain amount. They don't want to actually put on size, right? They just want to put on strength. They just want to build strength. And so on the flip end of that, if you're trying to do hypertrophy training, you're trying to get as much time under tension under the muscle as possible. You're trying to get as much blood flow in there that you can, so the higher rep ranges, like I said, 15 to 20. I know that sounds super high for some people, but especially for these smaller muscle groups, that's where you want to go. That's how you're going to get the time under tension. That's how you're going to get muscle gains, right? Not necessarily strength gains, but muscle gains. So you kind of have to pick and choose where you want. When I'm in a calorie surplus, I do more strength training, right? So like 5 reps to 10 reps for muscles, especially the bigger muscles, because I'm trying to actually put on strength during my bulking season, right? Trying to put on strength And I'll do hypertrophy training when I'm bulking as well, but I will do more strength type training when I'm bulking. And then when I'm cutting, I still do that same strength training to hold on to the muscle, right? You don't want to like drop your weight down with muscles with the weight you're moving and be in a deficit. That's how you lose even more muscle than you should be losing. So I try to lift that same amount of weight, but then I'm doing extra hypertrophy work, right? So I'm trying to get extra blood flowing in the muscles. And yeah, I think for 1 rep maxing, it's very easy to injure yourself if you're not careful, especially if you're new to weight training and you're not fully in tune with your body yet. It can be super dangerous to weight train 1 rep maxing. Like I said, if that's your sport, powerlifting and stuff, that's awesome. I think powerlifters are badass. That's just not for me. And if you look at the physique, I shouldn't say there's a lot of powerlifters that look amazing. So I'm not here to say anything, but those guys are generally either genetically gifted or they are doing some hypertrophy work as well. A lot of powerlifters, they don't look like a bodybuilder, right? Like there's a huge difference in the way people look. I mean, people that are not in the fitness scene will think like little physique guys are stronger than powerlifters just because they have the lines, they have the shreds, when in reality, those powerlifters can snap those physique guys in half. I mean, there's no comparison with strength, right? The powerlifters are 10 times as strong, quite a bit stronger. So kind of have to figure out where your goals are, right? And so I think it was Kai Green who said, it's not about lifting a lot of weight or a lot of reps. It's about doing both, So for a bodybuilder, you want to lift as much as you can, but also with that time under tension, with more reps. You don't want to be doing 1 rep maxes. Even 5 reps, when you think about it, is not much time under tension. Even if you're going slow, like we've talked about, a slow tempo, right? It's still not very much time under tension, as opposed to if you're doing like double that, 10, 12, which I think is like the sweet spot, but even as much as 15 to 20 for smaller reps. You can't compare. So you're gonna get a bigger pump and more blood flow into those muscles, which ultimately flows nutrients into those muscles and gets those muscles to grow, especially, if you're on a calorie surplus. So yeah, I think, strength training has its place. And when I say strength training, I mean 5 reps or less, super heavy weight, right? Where you're like basically failing to get that 5th rep up. It has a place, and you want to make strength gains, even if you're trying for hypertrophy, right? So throw that in still. Don't neglect all strength. But if you're trying to actually put on size, physical muscle size, you got to get that time under tension. You gotta lower the weight and increase the reps. And yeah, I mean, and again, this is for my body. Some people are genetic freaks out there. They can do all sorts of stuff, but I think for the overall majority, if you're trying to actually grow the size of the muscle, right, you got to do hypertrophy training, which I'm talking like 10 to 15 reps plus, right? And so you can still make progressive overload by doing that. You still stay in that rep range, but then just increase the weight, right? So you're still kind of making strength gains. It's just not going to be as fast as if you're doing 5 reps or less and taking a 5-minute break before you lift that again, like these guys do. And that's really how you're going to get major strength gains, right? So yeah, again, it's an art, and you want to find a balance. You don't want to do just strictly hypertrophy or strictly strength training if you're trying to actually grow muscles. You want to kind of do both, dabble in both, but just be careful. And when you're on a calorie deficit, especially be careful with strength training. I think there's this thing going around where it's like, if you don't lift heavy when you're cutting, you're going to lose all your muscle. And to an extent, that's true, right? You want to put the same kind of tension under your body when you're bulking to hold on to as much muscle as possible. But you're going to lose some strength when you cut weight, no matter what. If you're natural, you're gonna lose some strength gains. The goal is to lose minimal strength gains, or even stay maybe ideally at the same, right? At the same strength gains that you were when you were bulking. You're just not going to make additional strength gains like you would if you were in a calorie surplus. So, yeah, for me, I rarely will 1 rep max. And, I know what my body can handle and what it can't, and I do better with hypertrophy type training. My body responds much better to it. So yeah, guys, hope that helps.